morning. My name is Mahmoud Nur. I'm the chair for Human Services. I represent District 60B in Minneapolis. Today is a great day because we're going to be approving one of the most historic investment in long-term care. This is a generational investment. What I mean by that is we are investing in PCA program by $890 million in the next 4 years. We're investing $875 million in the next 4 years in the elderly waiver. What that means is for those direct care professionals who are earning $13, they will see a significant increase, more than 30% increase for the PCAs who are going to be earning $19 in 2024. And then they'll be earning $20 in 2025 with also step increases to $22.50. That has never happened before. When elderly waivers are earning $13, they'll be earning $17 an hour so that they can take care of those most vulnerable members in the society. So not only that, we're investing in the long-term care, we're also providing resources for the most disabled individuals. When it comes to home and community-based services, we're increasing by 17% across the board. That's one thing that we have never done in this chamber, in this place. So it's investment in areas that we have never done before. Likewise, we're investing in workforce incentives, workforce training. We understand the industry has been hit hard by the pandemic, by the inflation, but also by the workforce shortage. We have got 52,000 workforce shortage in the healthcare industry, particularly for PCAs. People like Dennis, who lost his life because he could not get a PCA. People like Mary, who wanted us to make sure that we can pay more for the homemaker program, that they will see that increase of 62%. Never heard of. And you'll be hearing more about the nursing homes where we're investing more than $10 million in the critical access facilities, whereby in greater Minnesota, they will be able to take care of more than 550 individuals. Likewise, I think the VBR, the value-based reimbursement in the nursing homes, will have $853 million baked in. I'll give you an example. For a CNA in a nursing home, they're earning right now $19 an hour. In 2025, they're going to be receiving $23 an hour. That's a huge investment that we have never done before, and we look forward to getting it done today.
So we'll speak to the judiciary finance portions of the bill. So quite simply, this bill finances our justice system. It critical historic investments in public defenders. So the bill that was passed off the House floor previously, that's fully included in this budget, as well as really critical investments in civil legal services as well. Every person here and every person watching this has somebody they care about who has at some point has needed the services of a public defender or a legal aid attorney. We are making those critical investments so that everybody who needs access to justice can get it, regardless of how much income they make. Right now, we know that less than half of the people who qualify for legal aid and go to legal aid asking for help are turned away because we simply are not investing in those programs. Those are the attorneys. You know, I know people make a lot of jokes about attorneys, but at some point, everyone needs the help of an attorney, and we want to make sure that if you don't have access to wealth, you still get access to an attorney when you need it. We also have investments in our press friends should be happy. We have the making access to court documents free, so uncertified copies of all civil and criminal cases. All those documents will be no fees going forward, as well as investments in our guardians ad litem, all the other pieces of our justice system, our court systems, everything that makes that work. That is really the thrust of this bill. And at the end of the day, our focus was really on making sure that the pledge that we say every day, and we talk about justice for all, that's what this judiciary budget does, is make sure that everybody has access to justice, and those with less aren't put at a lower place in our system and can get the things that they need.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Moeller, and I'm the chair of the Public Safety Committee. And today is a good day. This is a transformational bill for public safety that positively impacts the safety of every Minnesotan across the state. Our bill provides substantial investments for victims of crime. We have substantial investments for law enforcement. One of the most important pieces we heard from law enforcement groups when they came to the Capitol this year was the need to recruit officers, and our bill does just that. We have important investments here for probation and rehabilitation, areas that have been neglected for years. And every county in this state has approved of the probation formula that we're putting in our bill. Our bill also modernizes our statutes and addresses current crimes. We tackle gun violence head-on in this bill. We have the Extreme Risk Protection Order, also known as the Red Flags Law. We're going to make sure that we have criminal background checks on firearms transfers. These are common sense measures that our constituents for years have been telling us that they want, and we're going to do that today. We also recognize the fentanyl crisis, and we increase penalties for those who are dealing fentanyl. We close a loophole for domestic violence victims, and we create a crime of retail theft. We also recognize that our juvenile justice system is broken, and our bill makes substantial investments in improving our juvenile justice system. We heard in committee from counties around the state who are doing good work, like Yellow Medicine County and the counties in the Rochester area, on restorative justice practices that we're going to provide statewide. We also have a very important investment in violence prevention efforts that both local communities, local governments, and nonprofits in collaboration with their local governments can apply for these violence prevention grants. There is great work being done in community, and we want to make that more available and accessible to prevent violence before it even happens. This is a great bill, and I'm really looking forward to presenting it today.
Good morning, Majority Leader Jamie Long. We have some great work we're doing on the House floor today. We're going to be finishing our work on the cannabis bill, which we picked up last night, a terrific human services bill as well. But I'm just going to focus on the gun violence prevention piece of the public safety bill that we're taking up today. A few weeks ago, my preschooler came back and talked about the shelter-in-place drill that she had to do at her preschool, and explained to me that it was because bad people could come into her preschool and she needed to know what to do. We have a gun violence epidemic in our country and in our state, and right now we're putting this on our kids, and we shouldn't. We are at a point where the adults need to step up and protect our kids and make sure that we are doing everything we can to keep them safe, and that's what we're doing here today. We have in this bill provisions that have been seeing marchers come to the Capitol, seeing people here year after year after year calling for these common sense gun violence prevention measures. These are bipartisan measures. We might not see that in the vote here today, but in the public opinion polls they are. We know that the Tennessee governor right now is calling for extreme risk protection orders like we are passing here today. These provisions are supported by majorities of gun owners, supported by law enforcement, and that's because we know that they keep Minnesotans safe, they keep our kids safe, and that is the work we're doing here today. It is an extremely important day for our state for gun violence prevention. And with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Chair Moeller, how come it's just the two there? The governor had proposed some magazine capacity limits and also raising the age to buy an assault firearm to 21. How come you stopped at the ones you did?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Well, the governor's bill came pretty late in session. We had already had a committee hearing where we heard the Extreme Risk Protection Order law, the background check laws, a safe storage law, which we still think is important, report stolen firearms. But we decided with this bill to focus on those two efforts. They have been around for years. We've seen them work successfully in both red and blue states, so that's the focus of this year. But our work is not done.
Do you expect them to remain as part of this conversation as it goes to the Senate, or do you think that you might have to break it off given that they don't have similar measures?
We are going to pass this bill, and I'm really hopeful that we can get it across the finish line and get it to the governor's desk for his signature this year.
The other, the storage bill and things that you mentioned that are also on your, wish list for the future. Was there just an element of not having the votes for those this year as well? I mean, you mentioned things that are late in session, but also just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually the chief author of the safe storage bill, so I can speak to that. Unfortunately, some activists who were opposed to that really spread some misinformation, particularly in rural Minnesota, and drumming up negative, false ideas of what the bill does. I'm a gun owner myself, drafted it with someone who's also a gun owner, and it's a good bill. It would keep people safe. We have safe storage laws in other areas of the country, and bipartisan, sometimes unanimous, honestly. All of us as gun owners should be focused on keeping loaded weapons away from children and other people who shouldn't have them, and we will definitely continue to work on that in the interim, and hopefully for next year we can get that across the finish line.
Sorry, were you referencing the sheriffs when you were talking about that? Because I know that there was a lot
No,
of sheriffs.
some groups reached out to the sheriffs. The sheriffs were sort of fed some false information and asked to send letters. You could tell it was coordinated in the way that I was getting responses from rural TV stations who clearly someone had come to them with that information. But, unfortunately, the damage had already been done as far as people sort of putting a line in the sand based on false information. And, that's part of the work that we do. This is politics, and we'll continue to move forward. And we know it's a good effort, and we'll keep at it.
Legal aid, is that go to just one fund and is dispersed, or is it separated like Mid-Minnesota and the other legal aid groups?
Yeah, a good question. So the legal aid system is a little different than the public defense system. It's not actually a state system. It's actually under the Supreme Court budget, so then it gets divvied up to the other, whether it's mid-Minnesota or southern Minnesota, the different regional centers will get that money out to communities, commensurate with the need. The idea would be that we would be able to raise the wages so that we can keep good civil legal aid attorneys in their jobs, as well as being able to hire on more staff so they can take on more cases and help more people.
I think that it's overdue considering everything that happened in the pandemic.
More than overdue. As folks may or may not be aware, legal aid attorneys are the ones who represent people in employment cases, housing cases, seeking orders for protection, all of those things in the civil side that are part of people's day-to-day lives. It's definitely overdue. As I said, more than half the people who seek the services and qualify are being turned away. That's only the people who are seeking services. We know there's a greater need, but if you sort of know, my friend called and they said they can't take any more cases, people stop even asking for the help, and we're trying to flip the script and increase that funding so that the help is there when people need it.
So to clarify, just on the order of things here today, is it going to be cannabis first, then human services, and then public safety? Right. And how long do you expect each to take?
Oh, well, good. Yes, we will. Yeah, so we're already on third reading on the closing speeches on the cannabis bill, so hopefully that won't take too much longer to wrap up today. And then the human services bill is going to be quick and easy, right, Chair Noor? So, so yes, we will get on the public safety bills today.
Chair Mueller, can you speak a little bit about getting to the point of stiffer penalties for fentanyl? I understand that there was some heartburn or some concern from DFLers in previous sessions when Republicans have pushed for this. How did you guys get to a place where you could support it?
Yeah, thank you. Well, we're recognizing the fentanyl crisis for the public health crisis that it is. So while we do increase penalties, and I'll say this has been a bipartisan effort, I've been working across the aisle with my colleagues on this issue to increase the penalties for the fentanyl dealing, really to get at the dealing and not criminalizing people who have substance use disorder. But we're also doing other things like making sure that naloxone or opioid antagonists are available to all law enforcement in the state. We have other bills moving that do a lot with regard to substance use disorder. Again, prevention, intervention, the opiate antagonists. And part of this bill also has a study to look at how do we do our drug cases better? What are some alternatives? Because right now we know the war on drugs hasn't worked. We're left with the structure in our statutes that we currently have, but we know we need to do better. We know it's not equitable. We know we're punishing people who have substance use disorder. That's not what we want to do. And so we're looking at this holistically and looking at all the different areas where we can work on this issue.
The possession penalties are not, it's really focused on the sale, because I know that there were higher possession penalties, I think, in earlier versions from Republicans.
Right, so the bill does have first through third degree, both sale and possession, but the possession levels in those are more consistent with possession for the intent of selling later.
Have anything with carjacking? I know that's been an issue in the past.
Yes, it does. And I'd point to a few different provisions. First of all, I have a bill in here that I worked with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office on to enable GPS tracking of stolen cars in order to be able to safely apprehend those people who have stolen cars and do so in a way that until when law enforcement can actually safely stop them. That is one of the proposals. But what we're doing in juvenile justice is especially important when it comes to carjacking in this case. All of the different proposals we have related to violence prevention, restorative justice. We've got a Ramsey County, it's more of a pilot project on therapeutic homes for juvenile justice-involved youth. And all of these things are really necessary. The Minneapolis Police Department wrote in favor of what we're doing around juvenile issues because they know that what the system currently is broken, and we start to fix that system in this bill.
Chair, we keep hearing the number $4 million is all you guys are doing for nursing homes. Is that rooted, is that number accurate? And if not, what's the real number in terms of what this budget does to prop up nursing homes on the edge?
Let me address the $4 million. That's for the critical access nursing facilities, greater Minnesota, rural Minnesota. For those who are struggling to make ends meet, they will receive funding so that they can stay open, and those communities to make sure that they stay within close to their home. So that's for specific area. But when you look at the VBR, value-based reimbursement, there is $853 million in the next 4 years, which has been something that was agreed to in 2015. And yes, there's a struggle with workforce shortage across the board. And that is one of the biggest challenges that nursing homes are facing. We're investing $85 million to address the workforce shortage, and we are also going to be investing to support those nursing homes that are struggling. So I think the $4 million that they're picking up is the additional $4 million for the critical nursing facilities.
And I'll just add on nursing homes. This is one of the very few areas of the budget where we have automatic inflators built in. So we are seeing increases year after year, and those are large and important increases that we're putting in our nursing homes. But one of the things we're trying to do as a Democratic majority is expand that to other areas, so like K-12 schools, for example, where we're trying to make sure that we are accounting for inflation as we're going forward. So this is pretty unique for nursing homes, but it is disingenuous to compare that to other areas of the budget since it is a carve-out just for nursing homes.
Mr. Leader, the rhetoric on the other side is that they're dragging these debates out so long because they've been shut out in the committee process. Your reaction to that assessment?
Well, I think there are bipartisan bills in every single one of the bills that we're taking up today. We've had bipartisan votes on almost all of our budget bills so far, and a lot of the major bills we brought forward. Friday, every single bill we brought to the floor was a full green board. So sometimes I think there's a tendency to focus on the controversy or to focus on the division, but there's a lot of really good work happening up here, a lot of bipartisan work, and I would say that all of us are looking for good ideas regardless of where that comes from.
Chair Mueller, how do you plan to advocate for the gun control measures in here in the omnibus bill, given it's not in the Senate?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it? It's getting loud behind me here.
How do you plan to advocate for the gun control measures in the omnibus bill, given it's not in the Senate's conference committee?
Yeah, so when we have conference committee, they have heard those provisions already. And so when we come to conference committee, we'll be coming with all of the proposals that we're able to pass today, and they'll have their proposals. And then we haven't yet figured out the structure, but we'll probably be having hearings on the things that aren't, if they have something in their bill that's not in ours or vice versa, but they have had hearings in those bills, so we'll be advocating very hard for those proposals.
Do you think there's votes in the Senate for those measures?
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can get it across the finish line. I'm focused on what we're doing in the House, but I'm going to advocate very hard for this to pass in the Senate.
Thanks, everybody.
Are you taking a break for coffee? You're just jumping right into the third reading?
We're going to take a break for comments. So
So
we'll
roughly
get
back
on
at
for
12:31?
12 probably.
Okay.
Mr. Boyce?